Hey guys, the season has just begun and everyone is off to the races trying to win a bunch of games. I'm going to tell you guys a few recommended champions for each role and why they're going to be effective until changes are made.
The most played champions in top lane are all carries. However, this doesn't mean they're the highest win percentage champions. In fact, the 3 highest win rate champions can all be considered anti-carries. You can definitely use this knowledge accompanied with the fact that carry top laners are very hit or miss to have a strong start to your season. The 3 champions that I recommend are Yorick, Kayle, and Malphite. They have a forgiving learning curve and fit the meta very well in their own ways. These champions are working well at the moment because they can either beat or equalize carries in the laning phase, and that's all you really need to stop, say, a Riven or Yasuo from doing well. If you can reach a high level of mastery for these 3 champions, you can play into any matchup because you can fit any hole for your team and counter the enemy team at the same time. 2 honorable mentions for top lane are Teemo and Maokai. Teemo, for obvious reasons, he just puts out stupid damage and has global presence if you place your mushrooms correctly. Maokai is the staple tank and has it all. You can stand in front of your team and soak a ton of damage. The jungle meta is very clearly carry-centric. Although it's very tempting to pick Lee Sin for this meta, there are so many more consistent choices. The jungle has potential to be strong every single game, so picking champions that require immense skill and prone to having bad games doesn't make sense. The best junglers at the moment don't require insane mechanics, just good jungle sense and decision making. The 3 champions that I recommend are Warwick, Rammus, and Shyvana. If you're a good jungler, you can pick these champions up very quickly and just dominate games. These champions are all about being in the right place, not making crazy outplays. You'll also scale very nicely into the late game and still have a large impact in team fights. 2 honorable mentions are Jin Zhao and J4 because they're in-your-face kill-you champions. Huge impact early game and demands an answer from the enemy team or else they'll blow up their carries. The mid lane meta is diverse as always, but there are certain picks that I think can be abused. Unlike the other lanes, mid lane has always been gifted with a huge champion pool, so if my suggestions aren't your style then that's perfectly fine. Just make sure that your style is actually for you and working. The 3 mid laners I recommend are Xerath, Lux, and Orianna. These 3 may be bread and butter, but sometimes that's all you need to climb. These champions are really good at team fighting and even have the capability of roaming. In solo queue, any champion that can outpush their lane opponent is a good roamer. You can also hold your own in laning phase against anyone but assassins, specifically Zed. Thankfully, you get to ban someone every game, so that's who I suggest to ban. 2 honorable mentions are Twisted Fate and Katarina. Both of these champions bring high damage all game long and can be a headache to play against. They both roam and scale well throughout the whole game. The AD carry meta seems pretty set, and we're seeing the same faces as we saw from the beginning of the preseason. The great thing about the AD carry role is many of the viable champions share the same core mechanics, so you can adapt to champions much quicker than the other roles. This being said, there are tons of valuable champions, but the 3 that I recommend are Miss Fortune, Ezreal, and I hesitate to say this, but Vayne. These 3 champions are so good at the moment, and any high rank AD carry main plays all 3 of them. They pretty much have the whole package, and are absolute monsters at their respective power spikes. The meta is full of nimble bruisers and squishy carries, so it's not a coincidence that these champions are the best ADCs to climb with. They're all equipped to deal with the meta. 2 honorable mentions for AD carry are Draven and Tristana. They're both capable of putting teams on their backs and pulling off some amazing plays. Draven might take a bit of getting used to, but in certain matchups you can almost win lane 1 versus 2. Supports actually have an unreasonable win rate overall, and simply because of the meta. Fast-paced games favor supports heavily because there's less gold overall, so items are less prevalent in games. With all the carries flying around, it makes sense that supports can either disable or enable carries, so the 3 that I recommend are Leona, Taric, and Janna. These 3 champions have been great since the preseason, so that means a lot. Their kits are completely in sync with the meta and pace, so we can expect them to be a huge force in games until they're nerfed. I really recommend playing these 3 champions because it's almost promised rank if you're constantly improving. 2 honorable mentions for supports are Nami and Braum. Nami is a more offensive and engaging Janna that gracefully switches into a defensive support late game. Braum is just annoying. His passive is amazing, his shield is a nightmare to deal with as certain champions, and his ult allows you to make plays.
These are just some recommendations. If they don't fit your style, then it's alright to just do what works for you. However, I do recommend that you at least try to play and understand these champs because chances are you're going to be seeing them. Let us know what you think about the recommendations in the comments below, and good luck in your next games.